How's it going, guys? I'm Dustin Davis, and today we're covering the hottest Chiefs stories. The Kansas City Chiefs stand at a crossroads few expected to see this deep into the campaign. Questions about consistency, defensive reliability, and front office strategy have replaced the usual conversation about championship inevitability. Leadership faces mounting pressure to diagnose what's broken and determine whether the fixes exist internally or require outside intervention. A 5-4 record carries weight that transcends the win column. It exposes vulnerabilities in roster construction, reveals cracks in execution, and forces honest evaluation of whether star players remain at the peak of their powers. Every decision made during this stretch will either validate the organization's long-term vision or magnify its miscalculations. The Chiefs have built a culture around resilience and adaptation. But culture alone doesn't close one-score deficits or solve schematic problems. What happens next will define whether this season becomes a footnote or a turning point. Let's analyze everything that headlines say about the Chiefs. First, friends, can I ask for a small favor? If you're liking what we do, click the like button to show your support. It truly means a lot. Thanks again. The outcome in Buffalo on Sunday, November 12 delivered frustration, but it also provided clarity. Kansas City absorbed a 28-21 defeat that exposed weaknesses while simultaneously demonstrating the competitive fight that keeps championship hopes alive. When a roster built for deep playoff runs stumbles, the real measure is how quickly it addresses the flaws, and the bye week offers a critical opportunity to recalibrate. Mahomes completed 15 of 34 passes for 250 yards in the loss. The Chiefs generated scores on 2 of their opening 3 possessions, but those early successes couldn't sustain momentum or prevent Buffalo from controlling the pace. The setback leaves Kansas City at 5-4 heading into the bye, a record that demands introspection but doesn't eliminate the possibility of salvaging the season. Mahomes, Kelce, and a team that refuses to fold. Buffalo presented substantial obstacles, and the Chiefs nearly overcame them. The comeback bid, though unsuccessful, revealed the group's refusal to concede even when circumstances tilted heavily against them. That resilience matters, particularly as the team enters a period of evaluation and adjustment. Matt McMullen noted on the team's official site that the roster, quote, overcame immense adversity to still have a chance in the end. He detailed a pivotal moment when Kansas City trailed by 15 points early in the fourth quarter and faced the 4th and 17 near midfield. Mahomes extended the drive by connecting with Rashee Rice on a 29-yard completion that kept the Chiefs alive and demonstrated the offense's capacity to manufacture critical plays under duress. That sequence carries significance beyond the final score. The narrow margin of defeat provides tangible encouragement for Mahomes and Kelce as they head into the break. McMullen observed that Kansas City's rally ultimately fell short, but the Chiefs gave themselves a chance, adding that the key moving forward will be about turning those chances into wins, as Kansas City has now dropped 4 one-score games this season. Rashee Rice delivered another encouraging performance. Rice contributed meaningful production, accumulating 86 scrimmage yards and a touchdown across 6 touches. The scoring play marked his 4th touchdown in 3 games this season, reinforcing his emergence as a reliable offensive weapon. After the loss, Mahomes accepted responsibility and emphasized the need for greater consistency from everyone, starting with himself. He said, "We've had great moments, and we've had bad moments. We have to be more consistent as a team, and I have to be more consistent as a quarterback. We have to be able to battle." He continued, acknowledging the pattern of tight finishes that haven't broken Kansas City's way. "We've been in all these tight, close games in our history, but they're not going our way right now. So how do we deal with that adversity? How do we get better and learn from it? It will be an uphill battle when we get back, but I think our guys are up for it." The bye week provides time to evaluate, adjust, and refocus before the Chiefs travel to Denver on November 16th. Yet, while the offense searches for answers, another concern has quietly emerged on the opposite side of the ball. Multiple contributors need to elevate their performance, and the franchise's highest paid players bear the most responsibility. Chris Jones, specifically, has become the subject of pointed national criticism. Jeffrey Chadiha examined players who could influence the second half of the schedule in a November 3rd piece for NFL Media. Jones appeared in that evaluation, and Chadiha's assessment pulled no punches as Week 10 approached. While Mahomes and the offense absorbed most of the attention, Chadiha argued that Jones's regression deserves equal focus. He wrote, There's been so much buzz about the Chiefs finally having more weapons around Mahomes that most people likely haven't noticed the way Jones has declined this season. He's been almost invisible lately. He had 2 tackles in that loss to Buffalo and 1 in a win over Washington in Week 8, and he only has 2 sacks through 9 games. Chidiha also cited specific lapses that have damaged the Chiefs' record. Factor in his decision to not chase Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence on a game-winning touchdown in Week 5 loss, and failure to keep contained on a game-clinching scramble by Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert in the season-opening defeat, and this hasn't been his year. The Chiefs have every reason to be excited about a better offense. The problem is they won't win a championship if their best defensive player doesn't play better. Those reference plays carry weight. Against the Los Angeles Chargers in the season opener, the 3-time All-Pro appeared undisciplined, something linebacker Drew Tranquill noticed during the team's trip to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Weeks later, Jones deactivated his X account around the time of the Week 5 mistake against Jacksonville, though he maintains the account went down before that game occurred. Through 9 games and 410 defensive snaps, Jones has registered 2 sacks and 5 tackles for loss. Those numbers are difficult to reconcile with his $23.6 million cap hit in 2025 and a projected $44.85 million figure for next year. The tape suggests a player whose production has dipped noticeably. He's not generating the consistent disruption that once defined his game, and his effort has been inconsistent. Run defense has long been a concern, and Pro Football Focus grading reveals an alarming decline. Historically, Jones ranked among the elite PFF graders for interior defenders and defensive players overall. This season, however, he's posted career-low marks in overall defense, 60.3, run defense, 42.9, and tackling, 28.8. His 81.4 pass rush grade is only better than his 2016 rookie mark of 75.8, representing another career low. NFL Pro's data offers slightly more favorable context. Jones's average get-off of 0.84 seconds is the quickest among interior players with 100-plus pass rush attempts, yet his pressure percentage of 8.1% is his only seasonal figure under 10%, a clear drop from the 11.8 low he posted in 2022. He's also on pace for fewer defensive stops across 17 games than the 25 he generated in a 16-game season 2 years ago. It's worth noting that sustaining Hall of Fame level output indefinitely is rare for a 31-year-old interior defensive lineman. Jones remains a very good player, and Kansas City's defensive structure hasn't done him any favors. He frequently draws double teams because, outside of George Karlaftis, the Chiefs lack another consistent interior-to-edge pass rush threat. If Jones can rediscover his disruptive presence in the second half of the season, it would provide a meaningful boost for a Chiefs team that desperately needs it. Meanwhile, the front office was reportedly active behind the scenes, exploring moves that could have reshaped the roster entirely. Behind the scenes of the 2025 NFL trade deadline, a quiet negotiation between the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets nearly altered both franchises' trajectories. Kansas City, still searching for a dependable offensive weapon, targeted one of the league's most explosive young running backs. New York, however, refused to let him go without receiving what it considered proper compensation. What emerged was a calculated standoff between perceived value, timing, and organizational philosophy. It also served as a reminder that even the most aggressive front offices can come up empty when the asking price exceeds their willingness to pay. After weeks of speculation, Jets running back Breece Hall remained in New York. Yet, according to SNY's Connor Hughes, Kansas City made a legitimate push to acquire him. Hughes reported Tuesday that the Chiefs offered the Jets a 4th-round pick for Hall before the trade deadline. New York declined, holding firm to its position that it would not move the running back for anything less than a 3rd-round selection. Consequently, Hall stayed put as the deadline passed. The Jets also received offers for edge rusher Jermaine Johnson, with one team reportedly offering a 2nd-round pick. Again, General Manager Darren Moguet and the Jets front office refused to budge, believing the return wasn't substantial enough. Quote, "Where things stood on Jermaine Johnson and Breece Hall, from what I am told, there was an offer out there for a 2nd-round pick on Jermaine Johnson. The Jets wanted a little bit more. They were unable to negotiate that with the team, so no trade happened and Jermaine Johnson came back. With Breece Hall, there was an offer on the table for a 4th-round pick for Breece Hall. I was told that it was from the Kansas City Chiefs that were willing to trade for Breece Hall,
the Jets were steadfast in wanting a 3. So they wanted a third-round pick for Breece Hall. They were not able to get one, only had a fourth-round offer. Jermaine Johnson, they had a second-round pick, wasn't something they were particularly interested in. Despite retaining Hall and Johnson, the Jets were far from inactive. The front office executed a series of high-profile moves, trading star cornerback Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver Adonai Mitchell. Additionally, defensive lineman Quinnen Williams was sent to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for Mozzie Smith, a first-rounder, and a second-round selection. Still, with Hall and linebacker Quincy Williams remaining, Hughes emphasized that the Jets must now consider extensions for both players. Johnson, protected by his 5th-year option, has contractual security, but Hall and Williams could soon test free agency if not retained. Quote, "Where things stood on Jermaine Johnson and Breece Hall, in my opinion, those 2 guys now need to be extended. You need to extend those 2 guys and bring those guys back, otherwise it makes 0 sense on why you did not deal them here at the deadline." Hughes further confirmed that the Chiefs' interest was legitimate. For Breece Hall, there was an offer on the table for a 4th-round pick. I was told that it was from the Kansas City Chiefs that were willing to trade for Breece Hall. The Jets were steadfast in wanting a 3. So they wanted a 3rd-round pick for Breece Hall. They were not able to get one, only had a 4th-round offer. Jermaine Johnson, they had a 2nd-round pick, wasn't something they were particularly interested in. After the trade deadline closed, Jets general manager Daron Payne addressed the media. Asked why he chose not to move Hall despite trading several of the team's biggest stars, including 2-time All-Pro Sauce Gardner and defensive anchor Quinnen Williams, Payne bristled at the suggestion that the team was entering a rebuild. Quote, "I wouldn't call it a teardown. I understand the question, but like I said, through these processes, we talk about a lot of things and we fielded a lot of calls. Breece is a talented player. He is going to help us compete and win games the rest of the season," Payne replied. When pressed further about Hall's long-term future, Payne dodged a direct answer. "I'm excited to see Breece play against the Cleveland Browns Sunday. I'm excited that he is on our team." If New York refuses to trade Hall, then extending him this offseason becomes essential. Banking on a compensatory pick 2 years down the road would be a weak return for such a valuable talent. The real question now is whether Hall wants to remain in New York at all. Reports surrounding the trade deadline suggest the opposite. NFL insider Jordan Schultz reported that, quote, "Breece Hall wants to be traded," later doubling down on social media stating that Breece Hall wants to be out. Adding fuel to the fire, former NFL quarterback Kurt Benkert entered the conversation on deadline day, tweeting at 1:55 p.m., quote, "Jets running back Breece Hall is not expected to be traded today per source." Less than an hour later, he updated his post, "Jets running back Breece Hall would like a fresh start. As of last night, they weren't expecting to move him, but right now the Jets have multiple offers on the table. We will find out soon. They have until 4 Eastern per source." Critics mocked his credibility until he shared direct messages appearing to show communication with Hall himself, which he later deleted. The incident led to speculation that Hall may have directly leaked his trade desires to Benkert. People called him out like, "You don't have any sources, what are you talking about?" Then he tweets out a picture of him DMing with Breece Hall and then deletes that tweet. So it really appears that Breece Hall DM'd Kurt Benkert and was like, "Hey, I do want to get traded." And then leveraged him to put that in the Twitter sphere. What the expletive are we doing, man? That can't happen. That was quoted on Broadway Jets Pod.
In another development, Kansas City may have missed an even more critical opportunity before the deadline slammed shut for good. With the November 4th trade deadline now closed, the Kansas City Chiefs are left to wonder what might have been. Among the names that should have been on Brett Veach's radar was Washington Commanders defensive tackle Daron Payne, a player whose skill set perfectly addressed Kansas City's most glaring defensive weakness. Instead, the opportunity slipped away, and the Chiefs enter the second half of the season without the interior reinforcement they desperately needed. The Washington Commanders' 3-9 star positioned them as one of the league's most likely sellers ahead of the deadline, with key contributors like Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, and Marshawn Lattimore all battling injuries. The franchise appeared ready to explore moves that prioritize long-term rebuilding over short-term competition. As the Commanders accepted that their NFC standing left little chance for contention, attention turned to how they could reshape the roster for future success. Trading valuable veterans was an inevitable step, and Daron Payne emerged as the most logical piece to move. Yet, no deal materialized, and Kansas City missed a chance to address a critical need. For the Chiefs, the logic behind pursuing such a deal was obvious. Kansas City has long needed another disruptive interior force to complement Chris Jones. Though the team recently brought back veteran Mike Pennell following his release from Cincinnati, the move alone didn't fully address the defensive interior's limitations. The most recent evidence came in their matchup against the Buffalo Bills, where Kansas City surrendered 141 rushing yards, including 114 to running back James Cook. It was a telling indicator that the Chiefs still lacked the consistent gap control and penetration necessary to dominate elite offenses down the stretch. If Kansas City truly wanted to reclaim its Super Bowl contending form, fortifying the defensive front was paramount. Payne's versatility, size, and interior pressure would have instantly elevated a group that has struggled to defend the run and collapse the pocket from the inside. Across 8 NFL seasons, Payne has produced 273 total pressures and 42 sacks, including 17 pressures and 2 sacks in the current campaign. His combination of strength, experience, and disruption would have brought balance to Kansas City's defensive structure, easing the burden on Jones and creating opportunities for edge rushers like George Karlaftis to capitalize on one-on-one matchups. Acquiring Payne would not only have solved an immediate problem, but also signaled a clear message. Kansas City intended to reinforce its dynasty, not merely preserve it. Instead, the deadline passed and the Chiefs are left with the roster they have, not the one they needed. In the end, tell me, should Brett Veach have offered a third-round pick to land Breece Hall before the deadline? Would adding an explosive running back like Hall have been the difference maker Kansas City needed? Did the Chiefs make a mistake by not pursuing Daron Payne more aggressively before the deadline closed? Could adding an interior disruptor like Payne have been the key to fixing Kansas City's defensive struggles against the run? Drop your thoughts below. Was this a missed opportunity that could haunt the Chiefs down the stretch, or can they still succeed with the roster they have? Before you go, hit that like and subscribe button. Be part of our community and stay updated. Let's keep Chiefs strong together. Catch you in the next one.